I think we can all agree that 2023 has been a phenomenal year for gaming. Now, with the Game of the Year awards coming up in just a few days, I thought it would be fun to take a look at the categories that Nintendo was nominated for and see if they have a chance of winning anything. So without further ado, let's get right into it. For the first category we're going to be looking at is Best Game Direction. Now, this award is awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Now, here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people will be interpreting this in a multitude of ways, which is totally normal. However, I will also disclose that I haven't played Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, or Spider-Man 2, so it's hard to speak fully about them. However, the only game I really haven't heard anything about is Alan Wake 2. I personally think that the award should go to Super Mario Bros. Wonder, mostly because all of these games are sequels. I heard so many good things about Baldur's Gate 3, it's incredible. Because I understand that it's supposedly kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, so in that aspect, it's not necessarily that creative, because it's already based on a concept that already exists. However, it doesn't mean that the game is bad by any means. It's a game I really want to give a go. Whereas Spider-Man 2 is pretty much just, building off of Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales, of course. And Tears of the Kingdom, although was probably my favorite game this year, it's still just building off of Breath of the Wild. And it might just be because of relevancy bias, but, because Super Mario Bros. Wonder was the game that released the most recently. But I really think that this game encompasses what best game direction is as described by the Game Awards. However, I would not be shocked if Baldur's Gate 3 won or Tears of the Kingdom. Mind you, I do believe that all 5 of these nominations are incredibly deserving of being nominated for this category. The next category we are going to be looking at is Best Art Direction. This category is described as for being an outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. As a huge enjoyer of art myself, I personally think the 3 candidates that stick out the most to me are Hi-Fi Rush, Super Mario Bros., and The Legend of Zelda. However, I'm going to go over each of these. Hi-Fi Rush has a really memorable art style to me, and the way that everything kind of in the background bounces with the music, I think that is deserving. The Legend of Zelda has an amazing art style. I've always loved it from Breath of the Wild. But that's exactly it. I feel like, again, it's a sequel. It's supposed to look like the first one, so I can't blame them on that. But distinctively, I feel like there's not much. If somebody were playing just 10 seconds of Breath of the Wild versus 10 seconds of Tears of the Kingdom, chances are, depending on where they are, I won't be able to tell the difference between one and the other. Again, it's a sequel, so it's supposed to be. But I feel like in this situation, when we're talking about awards, it can be a little damaging for their chances. And of course, Super Mario Bros. Wonder has went in a completely different art style than they did before in the past. And I think it might pay off. And I honestly think that best art direction is probably going to be either Hi-Fi Rush and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And I think it might be Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The only reason why I don't think it's going to be Alan Wake 2 or Lies of P is mostly because based on what I've seen, they seem like they went more for a realistic art style, which is still an art style. However, there's plenty of games every year that look realistic, so these distinctive art styles like Hi-Fi Rush, like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, like Tears of the Kingdom, those are the ones that are going to be more memorable, so that's why I didn't really think those 2 games are going to win. Next up, we have Best Score and Music. This goes for outstanding music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. And I've played Final Fantasy XVI, and the music is phenomenal. And I haven't played Hi-Fi Rush, however, I know it's a game literally just based around music. But I really think that this is the award that goes to Tears of the Kingdom. The music in that game is just so good. And I'm not sure if they're going to consider that one trailer that was one of the first ones that showed off what Tears of the Kingdom was going to be. But oh my god, the music in that game is just so good. So good. So I do think that Tears of the Kingdom might finally win an award for this one. Moving on, we're going to go to Best Action and Adventure. This award will go to the Best Action/Adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. And there is one game that when I read that description that I'm like, you know what, this game has it on lock, and that is Tears of the Kingdom. The whole point of Zelda games is the puzzle solving, and that has been a big critique against Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild because, again, historically it was you went through the dungeon, you solved the puzzles, and yeah, that's just what it's always been known for. And of course, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild did dumb it down a bit. Now, Tears of the Kingdom is better than Breath of the Wild for this because a lot of people didn't necessarily like the Divine Beast. They found that those temples were kind of easy, and I'll be honest, I also found them to be easy. So I think all these games have good, combat and stuff. However, I think Legend of Zelda is the one that encompasses the description of the award the most. The next award we have is Best Family. This award will be for the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective, so it doesn't matter what's the genre or the platform. Going down the list, I feel like, let's say Disney wins. If Disney wins, it's simply because it's Disney. I haven't really heard anything about this game other than that. I know if Party Animals wins, which it won't, I'd be very happy for them. I think this game is kind of a loner in this lineup because it's the only one, at least that I know of, that is its standalone IP. The other ones are part of, bigger intellectual properties. I'm so happy that Pikmin 4 got nominated. However, I just feel like it's not going to win. I would absolutely love for Pikmin 4 to win. Pikmin has just always had a rough time getting out there, and I feel like Pikmin 4 really was the game that finally broke out a bit more into the mainstream. I mean, relatively speaking, it's still Pikmin. I'm sure if I ask my grandmother what a Pikmin is, she won't be able to answer. I feel like the game for Best Family will probably be between Sonic Superstars and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And I've heard that Sonic Superstars didn't necessarily live up to the hype, so just because of that, I'm fairly sure that Best Family Game will probably go to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Next game on our list is Best Sim/Strategy. This award is for the best game focused on real-time or time-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. And honestly, I think this is 100% down Nintendo's alley. I mean, they literally have 3 game nominations for this category. I do not think it will be Advanced Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. I haven't played it yet. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to that at Christmas time. But at the end of the day, it's just a remake of a game that doesn't exist. And I feel like in these awards, being original is the way to win. Because people already technically played this game. So I don't think it will win this category. I think it falls between Fire Emblem Engage and Pikmin 4. However, I played both. And I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan. I love Pikmin 2, don't get me wrong. Personally, my vote would be for Fire Emblem Engage. I think the gameplay was so good. I was addicted to it. Yeah, Three Houses was good, but honestly, I just didn't like the gameplay. I remember trying to beat Golden Deer for my first run. I got to the time skip, then I kind of fell off. And I eventually did return to the game. I played every single route. I played Golden Deer twice because I did the half run. Then I went again and did the full run. Then I did a second full run of Golden Deer. I played the DLC. I played everything there was and did everything there was to do in that game. But Fire Emblem Engage was just so much better to me. Oh, it was so good. Whereas Pikmin 4 was an amazing game as well. I really enjoyed my time with it. But even though I personally prefer Fire Emblem Engage, I actually think Pikmin 4 has a really good chance at winning this category. To which, yeah, it might not be Game of the Year, but just any award for Pikmin 4 is a huge win in my books. Hopefully Nintendo sees this as a win, just being nominated twice. I think that's really good in itself, and hopefully that means we don't have to wait 10 years for the next Pikmin game. The next category is Best Multiplayer Game. This award goes for outstanding online multiplayer game and design, including co-op and massive multiplayer experiences, irrespective of the game's genre or platform. So again, doesn't matter what console or what genre the game is, it's just best overall multiplayer experience. I don't know which game will win this category. I'll say right off the bat, I really don't think it will be Super Mario Bros. Wonder. although they do have online multiplayer capabilities, it's not exactly the way people might want it to be multiplayer, with the whole, you're more of a shadow in the background playing simultaneously with friends rather than actually just straight up playing with friends. I don't think Party Animals will win. It's just not a game I see winning with these nominations, of course. I really think it's going to be either between Baldur's Gate 3 and Street Fighter 6, mostly because, Street Fighter 6 is a multiplayer game to its core, because that's what the Street Fighter series is. It's just you fight against other people. If the multiplayer experience isn't good, it means your game's just plain out not good. And the only thing I hesitate for Baldur's Gate 3 is, although I've only heard incredibly positive things about this game, am I in an echo chamber, or is this an actual game people really love that much? Because at the end of the day, it's a Dungeons and Dragons game, to which is nothing, that's not a knock. Please don't attack me in the comments. But I kind of can't tell if I'm just in, like I said, an echo chamber where a lot of people are talking about Baldur's Gate 3, how perfect it is, how great it is. I have friends who played it that are recommending it to me, to which, I really want to play it too. So if the game isn't in that echo chamber that I'm talking about, I think best multiplayer game will probably go to Baldur's Gate 3, but if not, it's going to be Street Fighter 6, I just know. The next category is Best Adaptation. I don't feel like this category was here last year because I don't really remember it. If my memory just doesn't serve me, just let me know in the comments if this was here last year. Honestly, I think everybody knows which game, or which movie I should say, is going to win this category. The Super Mario Bros. Wonder just has such a broad, massive appeal for so many people. Tons of kids went to watch it, tons of adults went to watch it because they grew up with Mario, and even people that didn't even grow up with Mario went to watch it as well. I do think The Last of Us was a pretty good series. Not one I watched personally, but I know a lot of people did enjoy it. But really, it's Super Mario Bros. Printed money for Nintendo. It did so good in the box offices. I just think it's hands down going to be that movie that's going to win. I'll be shocked, honestly, if it's anything else. And of course, our final award of the night is going to be the Game of the Year. I think that this year was a very interesting year in gaming because there was like a lot of really heavy hitters. I think every one of these games are actually quite deserving of being nominated, and I think the top 3 games that I think have a chance at winning are Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, oddly enough. Now, I genuinely believe that it's going to be between those 3 games. Not saying the other 3 are bad, far from it, honestly. I just think that it's up to those 3. Now, let me explain a little. Breath of the Wild was one of the best games, according to people, ever created. So, that being said, going into Tears of the Kingdom, we already had a very, very solid base to build upon. A lot of people were expecting it to be good, don't get me wrong. And some people were hesitant with the game because they thought, hey, maybe that our expectations are too high, and what more could they possibly add to make this game better? Turns out, a lot. This game was phenomenal, and it almost makes Breath of the Wild feel like a tech demo. However, it's like I said, Tears of the Kingdom is still kind of piggybacking off of what Breath of the Wild did, which, again, it's not a negative thing, per se, because it still came out as an epic game. However, in a competition like this, where you're kind of trying to see which game was the best game of the year, it is something that does kind of work against it, in my opinion. Whereas Baldur's Gate 3 was even rated higher than Tears of the Kingdom. People went absolutely insane for this game. But here's the thing, though. The Game Awards isn't just core gamers voting. There will be a lot of more casual players that are going to be voting as well. And I'm not quite sure Baldur's Gate 3 has such a broad appeal like, for instance, a Super Mario or a Legend of Zelda game. If I were to, let's say, ask my grandmother, do you know what Baldur's Gate is? She'll probably say no, but if I ask her what Super Mario is, she'll know what that is. And I really can't judge how far Baldur's Gate's waves kind of spread. And because of that, I think it still has a really good chance at winning Game of the Year. Like I said, it's in my top 3 that I think will win. However, I don't know. It's just hard to say at this time. I don't think I'm crazy at thinking that it probably should win Game of the Year, but again, will it? It's hard to say. Whereas Super Mario Bros. Wonder typically doesn't fit that criteria people expect for Game of the Year, but I really think it does deserve the nomination. It kind of takes 2D platforming, it takes it at a whole different, level. Super Mario Bros. Has been pretty stale for a bunch of years now. I remember playing the new Super Mario Bros. For the DS, and that was amazing. That was really fun. But then they kept coming out game after game after game, and they all just looked and felt the same. And this one was finally just a breath of fresh air. The gameplay is, phenomenal. They completely redesigned the art style, which was great, which helps alleviate some of that fatigue. And I love just how the game feels alive. Like when you shoot a fireball at an enemy, and if you miss them, they're still visibly panicked because they're like, oh, I almost died. And a lot of just smaller details like that go a long way of making the game, like I said, feel vibrant and full of life. And do I genuinely think Super Mario will win Game of the Year? I don't think so, but also I would not be surprised if it did, because, like I said, it has a very wide, broad mass appeal. So even if people barely play games, just kind of stumble upon the website, they'll probably vote for Super Mario just because it's a recognizable character. Which is to say, though, still not a bad thing, because it is an excellent game at the end of the day. With all that being said, that's going to wrap up this video, so now it's your turn. What do you think is going to win Game of the Year? And all the other categories, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Also, make sure to stick around for next week when we discuss all the information that we know so far about the Switch 2 and when it's coming. So, until next time, lowdown.